Good morning, everybody. We are just giving everybody a few moments to log in, but welcome to the Hudson Valley Women's Leadership Conference on this beautiful, quite chilly, actually, day here in New York. And I want to thank everybody for attending as they roll in and get comfortable. It's just give everybody a few moments and get ready to talk about change, leadership, and women's experiences in that. So I'll just give 1 or 2 more moments here.
Perhaps some of you can also say good morning in the chat and where you coming from, because I know some people are coming from the West Coast, other ones are right there in New York, other ones are like me in Miami. So there you go. Good morning from New York.
Yeah.
Anna.
Wonderful. See, it's obvious, Marisa, that you're the professional here at this. You're clearly good at this. You already know how to getting everybody in.
Of course. That way it gets you. Beacon, New York. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning. Anne Marie, buenos dias. Good morning from Orange County. Yes. Amanda from Orange County. Good morning. Leah. Oh, from Ontario, Canada. Thank you. NY, Rachel Wilson from Orange County. Good morning, everyone. Putnam County, Dutchess County. Yes. Good morning from Warwick, New York, from Worcester County. Awesome.
I'm telling you, we got everybody here today.
Yes, that's
good. I think as everybody kind of rolls in, I'll just start I'll kick us off and then I'll turn it over to you, Marisa, because I know you've got lots to say and we've got lots to learn. So I will, I'll just briefly say good morning to everyone. I'm Laurie Villasuso. I'm the CEO of the Orange County IDA and the Accelerator. I want to thank you for joining us today for our 3rd annual Hudson Valley Women's Leadership Conference. It's been a wild 2020. It's no surprise that the last 6 months have really introduced us to an incredible amount of change, whether we liked it or not. Some of us have transitioned to working from home. Some of us suddenly became teachers to our kids. Some of us transitioned out of old jobs and are hoping to transition into new ones. Some of us changed our businesses because our new business environment demanded it. And throughout this year, there's been just that one constant: change. We at the IDA and the Accelerator have helped hundreds of business owners, leaders, managers, employees, and full-on industries figure out how to navigate the change they've been facing these last few months. We've helped people apply for federal loans. We actually created our own loan program during the COVID crisis and helped businesses pivot from making athletic wear, for instance, to personal protective equipment. Even this conference, typically we'd all be together in one large auditorium, looking at each other, experiencing this event as one community, but we too transitioned to a virtual platform. And now we all kind of know it's possible. You can feel part of a community even when it's virtual. So we've seen change and the way it can frustrate people, but also how it can be a place to invigorate, refresh, start over, or reimagine. And that's why we are excited to embark on these next 3 days of discussing change and how you can be empowered by it rather than overwhelmed by it. To start us off on this first of our 3-day conference, Marisa Rivera is here to talk about leadership from the inside out. Marisa Rivera is the president of Mpowerment Works, a consulting firm designed to impact global change by empowering people and communities. Her special focus is empowering the majority, women. Mpowerment Works LLC provides unique domestic and international seminars, keynote presentations, and innovative programs, all designed to empower people to become agents of social change. Ms. Rivera has had over 30 years of combined educational, consulting, international, community development, and leadership development experience. Amongst her many awards, she is a recipient of the Cesar Chavez Community Service Award given by the U.S. Hispanic Leadership Institute, and she was awarded as one of the 21 leaders for the 21st century by Women's E-News. To learn more about Ms. Rivera and her extensive and, quite frankly, inspiring background, please visit our event website, hvwlc.com. And now, on behalf of the IDA and the Accelerator, without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Marisa.
Well, good morning. Buenos dias. Thank you, Laurie, for that wonderful introduction. I hate when you say 30 years. It's like, oh my gosh, she's telling my age. But anyway, I am doing today something that I just love doing. I do leadership training, I do empowerment, I do consulting, I do all of those things. But my favorite, my passion is working with women. Why? Because I believe that the world is in such thirst for our leadership, for our inspiration, for our guts, for our empathy, for everything that women bring to the job. So for me, it's nothing but pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you this early in the morning with us. But I want to thank, of course, Lori Villasuso for inviting me. Melanie Schouten, thank you so much for all the arranging and the coordination to make this happen. Dean, thank you for all the technology assistance we've been receiving from you. And thank you all for joining us. My goal today is really to inspire you to take a look inside. You know, it will be a very different leadership training because it is about you. And I always say that leadership is not about you, it's about them, because it's about service other. But I always say we need to look at our internal compass. We need to be looking at how are we doing inside in order to be the best we can ever be, in order to be the best to others. So we have a lot of things to cover. We're going to talk, of course, about the reality that we're all experiencing. And Lori actually was very good about reframing what's happening today. And the last 6 months has not been normal for anyone. And we're going to talk about human response to change cycle, because it has helped me visualize and work with other teams on realizing how do we accept change, and how does affect us individually and how it affects to our team members. Another thing that I would like to share is, why do we need more women in leadership? We're 50% of the world's population, and the majority here in the United States, 51%. How come we're not 51% of everything? Defining leadership and courageous leadership. We'll talk about some leadership traits that you need to be looking at. We'll talk about the 7 sources of personal power that we actually have and we should be using when we're looking at leadership. We'll do some internal breathing exercise, a life cycle exercise, and I will teach you an empowerment model that has actually helped me through some of my most difficult moments, or when we're setting goals for the new things we want to bring into our lives. We'll do a visioning exercise, and of course, we'll have time for reflections and questions and answering. I don't like to be here all by myself. I want all of you to be part of this training. So I want to encourage you, if you have questions, to put them in the Q&A section. But I'm going to be asking you questions, and I want you to be using the chat, because that's what I'll be looking at. And that's the way we can all communicate, because it's a large number. We need to be looking at, you know, how everybody's muted. But if we use the chat, I can actually say some of the things that you're saying in the chat and continue our engagement together. Everybody ready? Raise your hands. I know that you have a little hand that you can say, are you ready? Yes. I hope so. I am ready. So let's start with the first thing that I always like to talk about, and that's remind you that you are the architect of your life. You are the author of your own life story. You're the producer of your own documentary. When you think about you're 105 years old, because I'm going to be that, you know, I'm going to live that long at least. And you're in that rocking chair and you're saying, what did I do with my life? What did I do with my leadership? How did I, you know, what is my legacy? And I want you to be thinking about those things. That's part of your homework. And I'll be giving you lots of homework, because, you know, it's not about only listening, but actually putting some of the things into practice. But I want you to reflect on your past, on your life. What have you done? And have you built a legacy? Have you done everything that you wanted to? Or are you done? And I say, so I always, or maybe you don't like what you have, what your past has brought to you. I say, that's great, because today you can start a new chapter. And that's the beauty of being the author of your own life story. If you don't like what has happened in the past, man, today is a new chapter in your life that you can actually start brand new from scratch. You're the producer of that film, of what has happened in the last 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. And you say, you know, what have I done and what I still need to do? Because that's the most important part. Where are we going? I'm sure you have heard about Eleanor Roosevelt. She's one of my heroes. I love this lady. She has so much wisdom to give. She gave so much, especially to the women's movement. But there are two phrases or two, I guess, quotes that she shared that I always use because they touch me. And it's about be proud of who you are. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Even if you're a woman, if you're someone, a minority, women of color, if you're from a different background, from a different country, no one should make you feel inferior without your consent. And that's important to know, because if you know who you are, they can say anything about you and you will not react to it because you know who you are. So it is important to remember that. And the smartest one is yesterday. Yesterday is history. It's gone. What happened yesterday, what happened 10 years ago, what happened 20 years ago, it's already gone. And some people live in the past, and that doesn't service you any good, and or the people that you serve. Tomorrow, it's a mystery because we don't know if we're going to even get there. Because really, today is the gift. Today is the only thing we have, this moment. And I'm so proud and excited that I'm sharing it with you. And I'm so glad that you're with us today because it is important that we share these moments together. Now let's think about what's happening in today's world, the reality of 2020. How many of you in December and January had a whole calendar of things that were happening? Personally, I was gonna be in a different city almost every week. And I'm like, oh my God. And then what arrives? The pandemic. We have not only a virus here in this country, but it's a global epidemic. So you couldn't really escape anywhere because everybody is suffering from the same. And you're still pretty much locked down because no one really wants anybody from the United States because we have so many cases here. So it's a very difficult time. And we also had the social unrest, the injustices that we have witnessed right in front of our eyes have really cost us a lot of grief. Financially, a lot of people have financially big troubles. And when you think about it, in a matter of 6 months, our life has completely changed. And how we do adapt to that change? Because none of us planned for it. This is certainly something new for all of us. This is so, how do we adapt to all of these changes? So you know, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, I had not seen this graph, I think, since my college years in my psychology class. But I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, look at what this pandemic has affected. It has affected all of our needs, starting with the very basic one, which is our physiological needs. The air, that's the first thing. You know, we're wearing masks, we're staying away from each other. Why? Because the air might have the COVID-19. So, you know, the air has been affected. Water, food, our shelter. How many people are being evicted or they can't pay their mortgages? You know, so our basic needs of safety and physiological needs are being affected. Safety needs, our personal security, our employment. We have more than 43 million Americans without jobs. Our resources, financial, our health has been affected by this pandemic. So all of that has been truly affected to either you personally or a family member or friends around you. Your community has been affected. Our love and belongings. I mean, I was just telling my daughter, I said, I don't think I can wait any longer without seeing you guys. My daughter, my grandchildren, I can't wait to see them because I will usually see them in between trips. And it's been 6 months. I'm like, oh my God, I have that need to have them close to me. And it's been very trying. And for those people who have actually had to be in the hospital and not being able to be together with your own family members has been very trying. Our self-esteem, our status, our strength, our freedom, my God, you know, our freedom has been curtailed everywhere. And so how can we be have self-actualization if we don't have any of our basic needs being met? So that's why I always like to share how humans respond to change, because some of you might have team members, some of you have working teams, some of you have staff members that are going through all of these changes, and we all react to change very differently. So some of them are threatened by it. Other people are excited about change. Other ones are anxious. Other ones are motivated. Oh gosh, something new we're gonna try. And I said, but other people are just very receptive to that. So I actually like to share this human response to change cycle. And this is actually by a psychiatrist's model of emotional stages of people when they're grieving. And when you look at it, Dr. Ross says, you know, you first are in shock. And it says, so when we first heard that we're going to shut down the United States from the rest of the world, well, I was first shocked when they said, you know, Italy is shut down. I'm like, what? How could that possibly be happening? And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, we're in the same boat. And you're in shock, like, could this be really happening? What is really happening? And then you're in denial. No, that's not going to happen here. No, it's going to go away. And then you get angry because all of a sudden you don't have the freedoms. You're upset because you don't know what you don't know, and nobody still doesn't know a lot of things. Then you start blaming. Who's to blame? Is it China? Is it Italy? Is it the president? Is it my neighbor? Is it who to blame? And he says, so you start bargaining. And I said, so you go through all of those emotional roller coasters. That apathy is like, oh, I give up. I've tried everything and nothing is working. You know, everything is so strange. All of these changes are too much. They also had told us it was going to be locked down for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks became a month. The month became 2 months. And here we are, 6 months into this whole ordeal. So what do you do? And I said, so you move into, okay, well, this is what they call the new normal. I still don't see anything normal in what we're doing, but it is certainly a new chapter in our lives. And either we can deny it, decline it, or we can embrace it and accept it. So you start accepting it, and then you start exploring the possibilities. You know what? It's not the same as before, but in every crisis, there's an opportunity. What is my opportunity as someone from the accelerator and someone from IDA? What is your business? What do you need to change? I know some of your fashion industries, you have changed into making PPE, fantastic. I had someone who had just opened a cleaning service for the big buildings. And all of a sudden, all the buildings are shut down because everybody is actually working from home. So her business was going down, but guess what? She says, well, you know, they need the cleaning and now they need the disinfecting of all the buildings and the schools and the big government buildings. And so she incorporated the sanitation part, and now her business is booming again. Because now everybody who wants to start the business, they want to make sure that they're sanitized and disinfected and all of those things. So we need to look for those opportunities. There is a crisis, but all of us could really shift into a place of opportunity. So understanding, integrating, and finally to sustaining your business. And this is your homework as well. Look at this human response to change. How do you respond to change? Do you accept it? Are you excited about it? Or you're just still in shock and denial that you don't want to even go there? I personally, it took me a while. It took me about 2.5 months to finally say, you know what, this is not going to be a 2 weeks or 1 month. It's going to be a long run. So I started accepting, and now I'm exploring and understanding, and I'm excited about the possibilities that we could be doing. As a presenter, I was doing some international work, but my son told me the other day, he said, Mom, the world is your oyster. You could be actually speaking all over the world out of your home. I'm like, okay, well, I like that. And really, my first webinar was from people in Paraguay, and I was here in Miami. So again, yes, the opportunities, there are opportunities in every crisis when people can't move around. So your homework is to find out, where are you in this human response to change? And where's your staff? Where's the people? And not only your staff, but the people at home. You have to be thinking who's really still in shock and angry and blaming others rather than being acceptance and making the things change. So I want to ask you, because sometimes we get a little depressed on what's happening. And one thing that I have found out that is very helpful to me, I said, what are the things that you're grateful for? And I want you to put them in the chat, because although we're having a crisis, although we're having a pandemic, although we're having social unrest, we also have to be thinking, what are we grateful for? And say, I am grateful for my family. I am grateful that none of them have been hospitalized. Yeah, I'm grateful for breathing, for my children. I'm grateful for my son. You know, many times we say we don't have that much time with our loved ones, and now they're all here. I'm grateful for my family. Linda, thank you. Sarah, thank you. Health, family, friends, the food, having food in our home. I've been in some of the food distributions of people that because they have lost their jobs, they don't have enough food for their family. My health, my job, you know, to know that 43 million Americans are without jobs, that's troublesome. My pets, my music, yes, to keep you upbeat. Thank you, Diane. Christy, my health, my job, my family. I'm grateful for my beautiful life, my family, my women's group, my friends. Women's group, thank you for mentioning that, Will, because we'll talk about that. Peace through faith, encouragement from family and friends, supports through work, absolutely. The needs for the time. You know, one of those things that we have to be grateful is that we have the time. We might be working from home, but now we are home and we have time to take a break and take a run with the kid or play soccer with our grandchild or do whatever it is that we never had time because we were at the office. I am grateful for my grandchildren, my faith, good friends, new friendships, my co-workers, my job, still working all around me. We're not still working, although others around me were not as fortunate. But that's when you say, gosh, I'm grateful because I still have either a job or an inspiration. I have my community. And I think part of being part of the Orange County IDA, the accelerator, you know, you have friends there. It's an opportunity to reach out and find help or some commonalities. Maybe you can help those fashion designers to do more PPEs. I'm sewing masks like crazy. I just started doing it because I have some friends that are nurses and they told me we're in dear need. This is ridiculous. And I said, well, let me make you some masks. And I started, and then people like them. And all of a sudden, it's all family members and all friends. Everybody wants a mask. And I said, but we all can chip in and be grateful that we don't have to be perhaps at the front end, that you don't have to be with COVID patients every day like my friends are right in the hospital, to have a home, to have a safe haven. All of those things are important, but remember that there's still other people that are not. But one of the places that when I'm feeling down and when I need some encouragement, I think about this. What am I grateful for? Before I go to bed every night, I say, thank you. I'm grateful for this, that, and the other. Because it reminds you that we're really rich. We're rich in culture, we're rich in friendships, we're rich in family. So we need to be thinking about those things. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing. Monique, my family, my community, friends, exploring the new ways to look at life despite the harsh reality of the pandemic. Absolutely, it's a new way. I've been working with some migrant families, and some of them were so scared, they were passing the fear on to their children. It's like, don't go out, don't go out, don't go out. I said, but 6 months of kids not going out, that would be ridiculous. I said, you know, what's in your patio? I said, well, there's some flowers blooming. And I said, take pictures of those flowers. Take walks with your children. to places where there's not a lot of people, but you still need to go on with life. So enjoy the moments that might be very simple, but because they're simple and they're with family members or loved ones, you will enjoy to start cooking together with your children and with your loved ones when you never had the time or never made it home early enough to be part of that. So we can do all of those great things. So again, thank you for sharing. So now we're going to shift gears. And I want you to think about, why do we need more women in leadership? And you might think, why? And I said, mujeres, ladies, we are 50% of the world, and we're the majority here in the United States. 51% of the US population are women. And we've been 51% of the globe for many years. It changed to 50 this past year. But I'll tell you, we've been the majority for too long. But at the same time, this is what I see in the world. This is what I see globally. The world leaders in the Millennium Development Goals. If you look at the first picture here, it's 193 countries represented there. And I say, and if we're 50%, don't you think that we should have 50% representation right there? And I think in the upper one, the last time I counted, I think there were 4 or 5 ladies who were in that picture. And every year you might have 5, the next year 3, the next time is 4, the next time, because they go and go, come and go. So unless our voices, our issues are represented, we're not going to have many changes. So that's why it's important to see more women in leadership. And then I look at the G20 world leaders. And those are the countries, the wealthiest countries in the globe. And there was a point that there were 4 or 5 women, because we had the president from Argentina, we had the president of Brazil, who were all women. We had the president of Germany, the prime minister of Britain. And right now, 2020, we only have 2. So that we had 4 before, now we have 2. And those 2 might not be there next year. So we're back to ground zero. So these are people making decisions at a global stage, and we, 50% of the global population, is not represented. Here in the United States, we're not represented either. So this is what I see nationally. You know, this is a congresswoman going into one of the meetings outside of the Capitol, but she's with her daughter. And, you know, she's going into 435 heads of men into Congress. So it's a very lonely place to be out there. I don't know if you can notice the top picture on your right. You see all men and a pair of high heels. Who do you think those high heels are? Somebody tell me in the chat room, who do you think those high heels are from? And I say, so that's what we're facing. There's always the first woman leader in one place or another. I thank you. Somebody, Rachel, you actually said it, Nancy Pelosi's shoes. And I say, so yes, we have for the first time a woman as Speaker of the House. I said, but it took her it's been 200 years or more to have a woman. Is it going to take us another 200 years after she leaves? And I said, so how long is it going to take us? And how different she has managed her leadership. That's important to also review. And the last picture here is one that drove so many women and myself crazy. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago. But this is the whole committee on, guess what? They were discussing women's health issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we're 51% of the US population, and they couldn't find 1 or 2 women to be in that panel. These are the men who are gonna decide what happens to our bodies. These are the men who are deciding what our health should be, our health insurance should cover or not cover. I mean, I was like, no, it can't be possible. And I think after so many of us complained in the internet, I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I think the next day they put 1 woman in that panel. But it is pretty sad. And that's why we need more women in leadership. And if you're not one of those who want to run for office, at least help other ones get there. And you know, if you look at the whole scenario of here in the United States, you know, where are we with the House and the Senate? We're 51% of the population, but we're only 23% of Congress. There's only 127 women who serve. There are 101 in the House and 26 in the Senate. There are 13 Latinas, 22 African Americans, 8 Asian Americans or Pacific Islanders, 2 Native Americans, and 1 Middle Eastern. So when you think about it and you look at the top, and I said, we still don't have, you know, I still want to see the 51. Where is the 51? And I said, we have a long ways to go. But in every crisis, there's an opportunity. I see this as an opportunity. That means that we need to see more women in leadership positions. This is the perfect place to actually be looking, where can we make the changes? And I see there, out of 100 senators, there are only 26 women. Out of 435 members of Congress, 127 are women. And out of 50 governors, there are 9 that are women. And believe me, I've been doing this graph for the last 20, 25 years. And it's painful because it's painfully slow. Because, for example, you know, and now we have 9 women governors, you know, in the next election could be 5, and then it moves to 6, and moves to 9, and then goes back to 5. So it's like, oh my God, are we really making any progress? And I said, yes, we are making progress, but it's a painfully slow progress. But in this past elections, we actually had hundreds of women who actually nominated themselves to run for office, which they had never done in the past. So, and in memory of the giant that we lost this week, in memory of the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I want you to think about something that she said when she was interviewed. They always ask her whether there will be enough women in the Supreme Court. And she said, when there are 9. There are 9 people in the Supreme Court Justice. So I'm telling you, I'd be happy with 51%, but she says, no, they've always had 100% men, and they never question, they never raise a question about that. I said, why shouldn't we have all Supreme Court justices being women? Why couldn't we have all the Senate or all the House represented by women? I said, yes, you have a point. So again, we're gonna miss her. I certainly already miss her. But I'm also grateful for what she gave us. And when we think about leadership, I want you to think about someone who was denied so many times a good job, a good access, a good litigation, and she finally made it to the Supreme Court. And when she made it there, you know, what one person did for all girls in this country, for all women in this country, for all LGBTQ people, you know, just one person made a huge, huge difference. So each one of us could make a huge, huge difference in other people's lives. So keep that in mind. And the last thing I want to share as far as statistics is to know that 7.4% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are women. And we're 51% of the population. So, you know, we are the shoppers. We're the ones who buy and consume the things here in the United States. They say, how come we're only 7.4 of CEOs? And that actually has moved on, because when I started doing the statistics, we were 0.5, then we moved to 1, then to 2%. So we are making progress, but not as much as we should. We also, as of this year, we are the majority in the US labor force. 50.4% of the labor force in the United States are women. All of these statistics should be changing. 29% of senior management are female, 7% of Fortune 500 or 37 women are CEOs of the Fortune 500. That's awesome. And 22% of corporate board seats. All of those statistics are reasons why we need more women in leadership positions. It could be government, it could be the private sector. But the one that's actually gonna help us the most Oh, this is another statistic of men and women as of 2019. As far as entry level, we're pretty even, 52-48. Managerial level, we have 62% men, 38 women. Senior managers or directors, again, 63-34. Vice president status, 70%. So as we move higher into senior VPs and the C-suite, then the difference is much larger. So that needs to change. But the place where I have the best and the most hope is the one that you're actually doing with the Orange County IDA and the accelerator, is having your own business and starting your own, because women are the fastest growing small business segment in America today. And Latinas are even in a higher level of starting their own businesses, with 11.6 million companies, small businesses that are owned by women, generating 1.7 trillion in sales, and they employ 9 million people. And that is great news. You know, the only thing when we look at some of these companies is 1 or 2 people, 3 people. So we need to give the opportunity for growth. But here's where you don't have a boss. You can set up your own rules, and you certainly have no boundaries on how successful you could be. So I want you to encourage yourself and always tell yourself, I'm a highly successful businesswoman. All of you who are in the accelerator, all of you who are part of IDA, you're all highly successful individuals. Write that down, because you need to identify yourself as such. 36% of small business owners are females. So this is a statistic that gives me a lot of hope and pride to be in business. And now let's talk about leadership. In life, it's very simple. We have 2 choices. We can be part of the solution, or could we be part of the problem? And I always tell people, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I want you to ask, what are you? Because many times we point fingers, it's her fault, it's his fault, this is happening because we said, what are you doing about it? And if you're not trying to resolve the issues at large, it could be the pandemic, it could be business, it could be family issues. What is the solution that you bring to the table? Because remember that when you point fingers, you have 3 that are pointing back to you. So you might be pointing, it's his fault or her fault, but you have 3 fingers. What are you doing about it? How are you actively being engaged, and what is going to be your legacy and your action plan? So think about, if you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So where do you fit in leadership? And leadership is a process of persuasion. You know, what would be leadership if you look back and no one is behind you? And you're like, oh, I'm a leader. And I say, yeah, you're a leader, but no one is following you. You need to be able to be persuasive for other ones to follow you. It's about influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's about the possibility of you visioning something and someone else following you. And if you can get there, it's going to be very difficult to be a leader, because you're not going to have any followers. So I want you to put in the chat room, what is the best leader that you have ever known? Meaning, who do you admire as a leader? And put it in the chat room. I want to know, who do you admire? And what qualities does that leader have for you? Can you put that in the chat? Who do you admire? Who is someone that you really admire as a leader? And Michelle Obama. What qualities does Susan, what qualities does Michelle Obama have that you admire? So think about those. You can also think about family members, co-workers. I have someone else who have Giovanna, Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama. What qualities do they have? It is a religious, but Jesus Christ, he was a compassionate and honest under the threat of his life. You know, think about those qualities, compassion and honest. Maya Angelou, thank you, and Luis. But what qualities do they have? You know, we have one from Jesus Christ, compassionate and honest. Write down, what are the qualities that you admire about them? Commitment to service, honorability, authenticity. Think about those. Positivity, empathetic, knowledgeable. Thank you, Susan and Luis. Empathetic, a good communicator, honesty, inclusivity. Thank you, Giovanna. When you think about, you know, who do we admire and why do we admire them? And the reason why I ask, because if someone is going to follow you, Leah says, same as Nancy Pelosi and Ruth Baker Ginsburg, they have grit and perseverance. They stay true to their goals and do what it takes to accomplish them. They also work for the whole of mankind. Thank you. Their vision was bigger than themselves. Michelle Obama has the quality to speak intelligently without fear. Absolutely. So a good public speaker. Helping without micromanaging, communicates clearly, willing to do whatever it takes. They ask employees to do. Brave, patient, perseverance, absolutely. My predecessor, she mentioned me for years to take on her role when she retired. Encouraging, thank you, Rachel. Trish, compassionate, determined, fearless. I want you to pick all of these characteristics and apply it to yourself and ask which qualities of all of these, of being brave and patient and good communicator and persevering and encouraging and compassionate, which ones do you have? Because you're a leader. Like it or not, you are a leader and we must have you as a leader. Remember how we need more women in leadership regardless of where you choose. Eleanor Roosevelt persevered and started a female press corps when she couldn't get coverage by men. Exactly. If it doesn't exist, wonderful. This is the opportunity to create it, innovation. So when you think about the leaders that you admire and the qualities that they have, then ask yourselves, how many of those do I have? Which ones do I need to perhaps shine in a little more, practice a little more? If you like Michelle Obama for being a clear communicator and speaking without fear, how about your speaking engagements? How do you communicate to others? Do I need to take a class? Do I need to do it more often so I'm not as fearful as I think I might be? How do I apply my determination, my compassion? So that's part of your homework. I want you to write down the characteristics and the leader that you chose and which ones do they have. And then ask yourselves, which ones do you have? Because I've done this exercise many times, you know, visionary, trusting, and many of you had said these: self-aware and confident, commitment to others, humility, good communicator, charismatic, motivational, lead by example, responsible and courageous. Obviously, all qualities of leadership. And then you have to be thinking, if I am a leader, what qualities do I have? Why will people follow me? Am I visionary? Am I, you know, one of the biggest one is, do they trust you? Are you trustworthy? And if the people trust you, they will follow you. But if they don't, you can do anything you want and they still won't follow you. So look at those characteristics, and that's part of your homework. Which ones can you apply to yourself? And which ones perhaps you could be working on? So what kind of a leader are you? Do people love to work with you? Or do people have to work with you? Think about that. And so does anybody there put that in the chat? Do people love to work with you? Or do people have to work with you? Meaning, do people enjoy coming to the office or working on projects together with you? Or they're like, oh my God, there she comes, or there he comes. And he said, oh, it's not gonna be a good day. So I encourage you, Diane, good for being so honest, kind of in the middle. And I said, and that's the reality of life. But if you want people who are engaged at work if you want to be a true transformational leader, you need to have people that love working with you, that will follow you in any crazy idea that you might have. I have many who I follow, and I said, you know, you asked me to do this. I have no idea what I'm doing, but because you asked me, I trust you, and I know whatever you're creating right now, it's amazing. It's going to be amazing, and I want to be part of that. And if I could be of any help, I will. So think about that. And if you don't know, and I said, ask people, do you love working with me or do you don't? Who calls you to ask you for favors to participate in things, and why do they? Those are the qualities that you're going to be looking for. So leadership is not about you. Many people think of leadership as, oh, you know, it's a big title, a big position, and it's not about you. Leadership is about serving others. Leadership is about servant leadership. True leadership emerges from those whose primarily motivation and desire is to help others. I like having leadership positions because I can make decisions that can affect a lot more people. That with my leadership, I can give a voice to those who don't have a voice. That with my leadership, I could change the world. That with my leadership, I know more women will be empowered to follow leadership in their own lives. I want to inspire women to get out of bad relationships and don't continue in that massive domestic violence. I want to use my leadership, not because of my title, or it's using my abilities to help others. And that's servant leadership. Serving others, employees, customers, and community is a #1 priority, is what servant leadership is all about. So you have to be thinking, where are you with this? Are you in for leadership just for power, just for a position? And exercising leadership can be difficult. For us women, it's difficult. Why? Because we're gonna sweat it out. You know, one of these great books written by 2 professors in Harvard, Professor Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky, they wrote a book titled Leadership on the Line, Staying Alive Through the Dangers of Leading. And they talk about leadership is worth the risk because the goals are extended beyond your material advancement. By making the lives of people around you better, leadership provides meaningful life. It creates a purpose. Why are you leading? Why are you in leadership positions? Because you want change, because you want to create that change. And if no one is doing, you step in. And I want you ladies to remember, don't just show up, take over. The whole idea is for you to be actively engaged in your community, in your home, in your nation. You know that 10 million more women go to voting booths than men? I said, we can certainly send whoever we want to the White House. Why? Because we show up. But don't show up. Make sure that you also take over whenever you're showing up. Exercising leadership can get you into a lot of trouble. Absolutely, especially if you're creating change, because people don't like change and they're scared, but that's okay. That's their issue, not yours. Perspiration is a given. Why? Because we're gonna sweat it out. Especially when I still see so many, the first women in Congress, the first women in the Supreme Court justice, the first woman to be an astronaut, the first woman, and we're still the first. And I said, my goodness, we're 51% of the US population. We should be way beyond that, but we're not. And every time there's a woman, they focus on all the wrong things. You know, how's your hair today? Or she doesn't have the qualities, although our resumes are much longer than men's. Look for the opportunities in every crisis, because this is our time. This is our time, and the world needs our leadership. And I hope you think about that tonight as your homework of what are you gonna lead and how are you gonna lead. In this book, they also talk about getting on the balcony. And, you know, in the book, they talk about a dancing floor. And, you know, when you're dancing with your partner, and you see maybe the couple next to you, maybe the couple in front of you. Maybe when you twirl around, you see the couple in the back. But he says, if you're in a dancing floor, you are together with everybody else who's dancing. But if you pull yourself into the balcony, what happens there? You actually see who wants to dance and it's not dancing. Those who dance that shouldn't be dancing because they're so bad, but and then you see the wonderful dancing couples that are doing a wonderful job. But you get to see the whole floor. And they talk about when we're making difficult decisions, and we as women will be making difficult decisions, especially in times of crisis. You need to pull yourself into the balcony and reflect. My decision today will affect my entire staff, my entire company, my entire state, my entire country. Who knows? And he said, but you got to be thinking, how is your decision going to affect everyone else that's out there? So have those reflections. I pull myself into the balcony and said, you know, anything that I decide today will have an effect on how many other people. And when you make those decisions, be thinking, be very clear on how is that going to affect the rest of the organization, the rest of your company, the rest of your family, because we're making big decisions right now and our family is affected by all of them. So how do we actually work on some of those things in our life? Sources of personal power. Raise your hand. How many of you think you have strong personal powers? I call them the superpowers, meaning just strengths that we actually, I don't know if I can see hands. I say, how many of you use your strengths every day? You know that you can raise hands. Oh, great. So I see lots of you raising your hands. So, you know, you have strengths, you have things that are innate in you. I don't know if any of you have taken the Strength Finder. That tool is extremely helpful to find out what your strengths are. But we all have strengths and we all have personal powers, and many times we don't think about them. But thank you all, Leah, Rachel, Inaudi, Leah, Nina. Thank you all for raising your hands. So I'm glad this is a powerful group. Camille, Monique, Trish, all of you that are raising your hands, thanks for letting me know. You do have powers, and we all have power as women. But these are personal powers. When we think about should we or can we do something, and so first is having commitment. That is your own willingness to stick to your vision throughout inevitable ups and downs that occur. So if you have commitment to achieve something, you're gonna make it, because you're gonna have that willingness to stick no matter through high and lows to make it happen. That is a power. A lot of people can find, you know, a new business, but they're not committed. They do it once in a while. Well, that's not gonna be very helpful. You need to be there all the time. Discipline. This is something that it is a daily dedication to our own vision. If you're not dedicated on a day in and day out, it's going to be very difficult to make progress. So both commitment and discipline are two powers that you have. Do you wake up every morning with that list of things that you need to be doing? Do you have the willpower to do the things that you need to get done? Do you have the people you're going to call, the things you're going to do, because you have the discipline of getting it done? You support system. We as women, you know, and so many of our families are single families, with the women being as the head of the household, we must surround ourselves with a good support system in order to have friendships, family, dedicated to helping us grow, people that understand that we have a lot of strength and a lot of opportunities outside of the home, but we need that support system so you can go outside and do those. So build yourself a good support system around you. Inner guidance. Ladies, our gut tells us if something's right and when it's not wrong. Some people call intuition the small voice within us, or the small voice behind us that is telling you, this is your gut, trust it. My intuition, my God, my inner guidance has never failed me. And when I've gone against it, man, it's proven to be wrong. So you have that inner guidance that tells you what's right, what's wrong. You have had it all of your life, but many times we don't pay attention to it. I said, but now I tell you that's part of your superpowers, not only personal powers, but it's part of your superpowers. And we as women have a very clear and distinct. Our other source of powers is lightness, the very center of the word enlightenment in the world. And the word is lighten, meaning how light are you? What are your limiting beliefs, your emotional baggage? Remember what Eleanor Roosevelt said, yesterday is history, that your past is history. And it's not to deny your past, because the past has made you who you are today. But that doesn't mean that you need to live in the past. That actually is telling you that, you know, the past is the past and you shouldn't be stuck back there. I said, you need to be in the now, in the present. And the more you let those strong beliefs behind you, the easier it will be to lead others and to lead yourself. Love ourselves, love for one another, and the priority love relation needs to be with yourself. And I said, you know, one of the phrases or the mantras that we use in one of my yoga classes is to hug yourself and say, I love, and repeat after me, because this is an inclusive webinar. I said, but hug yourself and say, I love and accept myself. Say it. I love and accept myself just the way I am, just the way I am. I'm doing my best, and my best is good enough. So repeat after me again. I love and accept myself just the way I am. I am doing my best, and my best is good enough. Yes. Thank you. So love yourself. If you're tall, if you're short, if you're heavy, if you're skinny, if you're young, if you're old, it doesn't matter. Love yourself the way you are. Sometimes we just have this imagination of, you know, how we should be looking, but just love yourself, because that's all you have. This beautiful body, regardless if it has any imperfections, which I'm sure none of you have any imperfections like mine. And he said, and he said, love yourself just the way you are and do your best. Yes, the best is not good enough. It is perfect. It is perfect. Of course, we're perfect. So this is all we've got. I remember, who's the actress? Salma Hayek. You know, she has a fabulous body. And somebody asked her, you know, how does she feel about her beautiful body? And I said, you know, this is my temple, and I cherish it and I work with it, because this is the only thing I've got. And I take care of my temple, because this is who I am, and I do everything that I do is with this body. So you need to take care of it, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So love yourself just the way you are, because you're perfect. Thank you. Thank you, NY, for sharing that. And finding your own truth. Your own truth must be the guiding force for creating your life as you want it. No one but you can create your own truth. Sometimes we're living somebody else's life. And remember the first slide that I showed you, you are the architect of your life. You are the author of your own story. And no one should be doing that for you. What is your truth? What is it that you want out of life? How you can actually bring to your life all those things that you want. And that's a whole other workshop. But think about your personal powers. And again, this is more homework for you. But which one do you need to be working on? I'll share those again. Commitment, discipline, support system, inner guidance, lightness, love, and finding your own truth. Those are the 7 sources of personal power. So I always like to think about leadership as an internal force. And that's why I called the webinar today, Leading from the Inside Out, because we need to check our internal compass. We need to check, how are we doing? Are we calm, especially in times of crisis? You know, we look towards our leaders to stay calm. And really, when your whole family, when you yourself are going through turmoil, it's going to be very difficult to lead others in calmness. But you need to develop how to calm yourself, how to be leading and noticing if you do need help, get help. You need to center yourself and be able to heal ourselves before we can heal others. Because many times, part of leadership is trying to help others who might be in fear, those who might be nervous about so many things that are happening. I wanted to practice the alternate nostril breathing. How many of you have done this practice? Probably within your yoga class. But when you're very nervous, well, before we do the alternate breathing, let's do a very simple one. When you're nervous, when you're anxious, when you're getting ready to do a big presentation, or when you're going to do something that you've never done in the past, you know, that I always tell people to breathe in and breathe out, but it's not like this. You know, breathe in, like inhale deeply and exhale. So now some of you might have gone, and then that's it. That's not going to be very helpful to you. So if you really want to calm yourself, the simplest thing you can do is breathe. But breathe with a rhythm and breathe slowly. Because what you're trying is like having a tank, an air tank. When you're scuba diving, you want to inhale the air and exhale slowly. And that way it calms you down. And so let's try it again. Inhale deeply. Bring your hands up and exhale slowly. One way to do it slowly is to actually think about that tank that you have, your air tank, which is your lungs, and trying to empty it. So when you get it all out, then you can inhale and have new air coming into your lungs. When we're born, the first thing that we do is like, we inhale and finally we cry or we scream, and that's our sign that we're here on this earth. I said, but it's breathing. The first thing we do when we're born, and the last thing before we leave this earth is what? We stop breathing. When we're mad, what happens? When you're upset, you get all red. Why do you get all red? Because you're holding your breath. When you're screaming at your kids, at your significant other, at your neighbor, who knows, whoever you're mad with. I said, what happened? You're really cutting the airflow. And that airflow is what really gives all the oxygen to the rest of your body. So breathing is so important. If you want to be a good leader, before you do a difficult decision, before you face a crowd of people that you need to give them good or bad news, it doesn't matter. Do the breathing. And the alternate nostril breathing, actually, if you use your thumb and you hold your, let's say your right nostril, and then you use your ring finger, and then you're gonna inhale, close your right nostril, and exhale through your left. Then use your ring finger and close your left nostril. Inhale through your right. And then use your thumb to close your right nostril and exhale through your left. Now inhale through your left. Use your ring finger to close that nostril and exhale through your right. Do this 5 or 6 times before you enter a difficult meeting, or when you feel yourself that you're anxious about something. Practice it. It works. It calms you down. First, you have to focus, because you said the right hand is in the right nostril, that you focus, it helps you. But the breathing, and again, it's a matter of doing it slowly and with intention. Just those two breathing exercises will help you bring some peace and tranquility into your life. So I thought I'd share those with you. Some of you might be very proficient in all of them. If you haven't done them, practice them. They do work. I use them all the time. I'm a presenter and a speaker, and breathing is one of those things that, especially when I'm wondering, you know, what's the audience gonna feel? Are they gonna like my presentation? You know, you go through all of those and you're like, I'm just gonna be here and give my best, and my best is good enough. So practice your breathing. It's wonderful. So let's move into your own personal life. And I want you to write down the 3 most important things in your life. If today is your last day and you say, you know, what is the 3 most, go ahead and put them in the chat. I want to know what's important to you. And I write them in a piece of paper, and I hope you have some piece of paper and a pen, something that you can write on, because we're going to need this list to do something else after this that you need to put side to side. So in the chat, give me some of your ideas. What are the most important things in your family, nature, and art? Thank you, Diane. That's absolutely wonderful. My parents and my friends, absolutely. So what are the most important things in my life? To keep those in mind. If it's family, if it's nature, if it's art. You know, I'm glad that you mentioned nature. I'm an ocean lover. And as a leader, I'm always thinking, what am I doing to resolve an issue? And I can't wait to see clean oceans. And I said, but the ocean is so huge. But I live in front of the ocean, in front of the beach. And every time I go to the beach, I always carry my bag. And I'm always collecting all the plastic that I find on my walks. And I said, and I know that's a tiny little piece, but I am doing something about it. Because every time I have 1 or 2 bags of plastic all over the place, and I only walk about 3.5 miles and back. But it's every single time I go for a walk, it's full of filth, it's full of people throwing things. So if you like nature, what are we doing to conserve that nature? So family, the environment, the community, Giovanna, family, nature, spirituality, service, family, salvation. Thank you, Linda. Family, helping others. I love animals. I become a wildlife rehabilitator. Yes. You know, so again, remember the question, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? All of us could be doing something about the things that matter to us. Our family, looking in the mirror without regret and having balance. Absolutely. So those are the 3 things that are most important to you. And now I want you to do another exercise and get your pen and pencil ready. And this is this one. And so you're gonna do your own circle. So I want you to do a circle and put you in the middle, and that's you. And I want you to be very honest and say, where are you spending your time nowadays? How much time do you spend for work? 50%, 80%, 2%, I don't know. But you be honest, because this is your own circle. And say, how much time do you spend with family? And that's, you put 20%, 50%, 80%, I don't know. It's your reality. How much time do you spend, you know, working or doing your community work? So put, you know, if it's 30%, 2%, 5%, I don't know. If you're going to school, put education. And 2 things that I want you to be very conscious about. If you have a significant other, they say how much time you dedicate to them, and also how much time you spend for yourself, because, you know, this is our time. Do we give any time to ourselves? Do we spend all the time for ourselves? But what's the time that you say, this is my time? I'm going to do some of the art that you wanted to do, or I want to go paint my nails. I don't know. Or I want to go for a run. I mean, whatever you do for yourself, give yourself some time. So go ahead and write your own circle and put more or less, and don't put sleep. You know, we all know that some of us sleep more than others, and that's okay. But in your lively time, you know, how is your pie? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. I'm gonna put a little music since we're gonna have 1 minute. Oh. That's not the song. Sorry. Should be calming music. So who's okay with their pie? Are you happy, or would you like to change something? If you would like to change something in your pie, what would you do? Like more time for what? Tell me in the chat. If you look at it, I'm like, man, I'm spending way too much time at work. I would like more time for what? For self, for significant other, more me, for self. Absolutely. You know what, for us women, it's interesting because they did research and asked men if they felt guilty about, you know, taking time for themselves, like going to get a pedicure or manicure, and the men, they said, do you feel guilty when you go play golf with your friends? And I said, no, my wife is there with the kids. I don't feel guilty. And so there was zero guilt on the men's side. And then they asked women, do you feel guilty when you take, I'm reading all the chat, and it's interesting. A lot of you don't have enough for self. How could we be good leaders, good moms, good spouses, or good partners if we're exhausted, if we're sick? Our health is important. So we need to. We're really good at doing everybody else's agenda. We're really good about, you know, maybe keeping our boss on track. We're really good about all of that, but we never put ourselves in the agenda. But that's what's going to happen. You're not going to make it to 105 years old like I want to make it. Let me. When you're sick, you can't attend not even to your family. How could you be the leader of the community, the state, or the country if you're not feeling good? You need to take time. And said, I have Juan saying, my pie is terrible. There's no time for caring for myself. Changes post-COVID, less time with community and friends, adapting to the new normal. Absolutely. You know, but, you know, Zoom, it's a wonderful opportunity to get together with friends, even if you don't. What I see most of you is self or more time with my significant other. And I have to tell you, you have to. You know, is there something that you used to do maybe in your younger years something you love doing, maybe playing an instrument or playing a sport or doing art. What is something that you haven't done for years, but you used to love to do? Put it in the chat room because that could help me lead you that way. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about putting time for your significant other or your partner. You know, I was married for 30 years. And one day my husband told me, or my ex-husband told me that he needed to take a break, and he took a break and left and never came back. After 30 years, after 3 children, it was like, what? And I said, but I remember doing this 30 years ago. And I remember I had no time for self and no time for partner. I was too busy working, going to school, I did lots of family time, but my family time was with my children because I had younger kids. So all of my family time was kids. And, you know, although the separation, you know, I want to blame it all on him. A separation it goes both ways. And I said, and every time I do this, I remember that first time I did it, which I didn't include him and I didn't include myself. And that's telling you something. If you don't have yourself there, you're gonna definitely get sick because you don't have enough time to rest, enough time for enjoying what life is here for you. And for your significant other, if you're not paying attention to that person at home, well, there's other people waiting for them to have and make their own home. So this circle is important. And you know what? You're the author of this circle. So you are fully in charge to change it. I'm looking at the chat and I have Diane, she used to do ice skating, Jean Sexton, dancing, playing an instrument and writing. You used to do that. Why aren't you dance? I mean, I put music all the time. I dance in the kitchen floor. I dance here in my office. Sometimes it's like, oh, let's put music and let's start dancing. And I said, so you don't need to necessarily go to a disco and dance. You can dance right here, right now. And I said, so start doing it. Ice skating, well, ice skating, you might have to find a place, but why not going to an ice skating ring and enjoy yourself? Playing the instrument, where is that instrument? Is it in the attic? Is it in the closet? Take it out, because the smile on your face would just bring you so much happiness. The writing, you know, set up. Remember, you have a personal power, discipline. Get that book out and start writing. Get that journal and start writing. I love history and enjoy reading and attending historical events. I certainly look forward to spending time on historical things. And I also love to walk and enjoy the Hudson River. Again, you have it right there. And I said, and now that we're home, we can look at all of those history videos, documentaries that we never had the time before, but now we're home and we have time to do all of that. Enjoy the walking, reading, exercising. Those are all part of our personal powers. But if you haven't done something in years, that's already telling you I'm missing out on something that is innate in you and that you love. So keep that balance in your life. And what I want you to do right now is put these 2 things together. You have the 3 most important things in your life. And many of you said family, work, art, the environment. And it says, so I want you to put those 2 together, the 3 most important things and your pie. And I want you to tell me, do they match? Are you putting your time into the 3 most important things in your life? And I know many of you had self, and you certainly are not putting self in your pie. So what do you think? Because this is an eye opener usually. When you put the 3 most important things in your life, but when you put it, say, how am I spending all of this time? You know, a young child will never understand why my meeting with so-and-so was more important than his soccer practice or his soccer game. And I said, and I need to understand that. And I said that, yes, sometimes we just don't need to go to that one extra meeting just to look good or feel good. You have to put your priorities together. So when you put these 2 together, the 3 most important things in your life and how you're spending your time, you probably need to do some adjustment. And guess who's the owner of this pie? Who is the architecture of your life and the writer of your own documentary and your own book? It's you. So you have full permission to shift around and focus on what's important to you. So make sure that's another piece of your homework. What are you going to do with your time? And the last piece of today is empowering yourself and your organization. How do you empower yourself and visualize it and see what do you want out of life? What do you bring and what do you want to bring over to you? It could be either your company if you own your own company. It could be your department if you work with others. It could be your organization. What is the vision for your community? What is the vision for you and your family? And I want you to pick one, or maybe you can manage all three. But I want you to be looking and say, what's my vision? It's like me telling, oh, I want to just go somewhere. Well, go somewhere could be around the corner, or it could be, well, I'm in Miami. Well, I want to go to New York. And it says, so, hey, then I need to go north. But if I just say I want to go anywhere, it really doesn't give me any parameters. But if I have a vision, oh, I want to be in New York with you guys. I want to be in the Hudson River. I want to be kayaking in the Hudson River. I mean, I'm more specific. I have a vision. Then I know I need to go north. So I can visualize myself there. But until I visualize it, I can put my plan of action. So it's almost like starting with the end before we actually create the plan. So always visioning and looking at what's out there. And that always helps me take some of the weeds out of the mess. So what's the empowerment model? And actually this was done, created by David Gershon and Gail Straub, which are actually part of the Hudson Valley area. And I've used this model they have the Empowerment Institute, and they're phenomenal. But it's about shifting from problem solving to possibilities and vision creating, especially in a time like right now, this 6 months, which everything has evolved so quickly, and we need to come up with solutions of problems. And so what would it look like? Rather than always looking, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? And you're always looking, what's the solution? What's the solution? To taking the time and getting into that balcony, that time to reflect, to say, if I had all the money in the world, if I had all the resources and the possibilities of creating something, what would that be? And then with that new creation, then you put the action plan. But many times we're so stuck about solving the issue that we don't think about the possibilities. So really the empowerment model, and I've used it on my personal life, I've used it on my leadership skills, is shifting from problem solving to finally looking at what is the possibility in the creation. And I want to ask, how many of you are gardeners? How many love gardening? Can I have a raise of hands? Does anybody have enjoy gardening? I said, well, let me ask those who enjoy gardening. What would happen if I just focus on the bad weeds? I'm just gonna take out all the bad weeds. I forget to put water. I forget to put the seeds because I'm so focused on the bad weeds. I wanna get all the bad weeds out. I wanna get all the bad weeds. What kind of a garden am I gonna have? Because I'm so focused on the negative, on the problem. It's the bad weeds that I forgot. So what kind of a garden am I gonna have? Put it in the chat. What kind of a garden are you gonna have? Because you're so focused on the bad weeds that you have not focused on what you visualize there. You know, the crops will not grow. They might die. Exactly. You're gonna have a flat garden. It might be nice and clean without the bad weeds because that's all you've been focused on, but it's gonna be dry and nothing is gonna grow because you forgot the seeds because you're so focused on the negative. And that's the analogy of this empowerment model, that we need to visualize a beautiful garden and not focus on the bad weeds, but what do we want to bring into our lives? So weeds are just wildflowers. Yeah, that's another good analogy. Thank you, Diane. So I want to visualize your leadership in times of crisis. Visualize is achieve, benefits of visualization. It will help you achieve your goals because again, you have the end in mind. And when you see what you want, things will come into place. In order to create your vision, you need to have a very clear vision of where you want to go. So I want to try an envisioning exercise with you because I know we're close to our time here. But I want you to close your eyes and I want you to pick either work, home, community, whatever you're looking into visualizing what you want out of life. And does anyone want to tell me if they visualize themselves? Maybe we can unmute somebody who might want to share their vision. Does anybody want to, or tell me in the chat, what did you see? What did you visualize? Anybody would like to share? And I'll tell you when I had to, when I was trying to make the transition of being married and finally divorced, I visualized, I used this technique and I closed my eyes and I said, what do I want to do? And I remember I said, oh my God, I want my office in between two palm trees. I could see a desk, two palm trees. When I said, can you smell it? I remember smelling the ocean. I could see the palm trees moving. It was that real. And I said, and what am I going to be doing? And then I saw a sea of women. And I remember I said, okay, that's my calling. I know I need to continue empowering women. I was the president of the National Hispanic Leadership Institute at that moment. But one thing that I had not noticed, it was the color of the skin of the women that I saw in my vision. It didn't come as a reality after 2 years later that I went to Kenya and Rwanda. And we had 350 women just coming to greet us. And they were dancing and singing. And I went like, oh my God, this is the vision that I had. And I had not paid attention, I guess, to the color of the skin, but in my vision, they were Black women. And I just remember saying, it's a sea of women. I said, I know I'm in for a revolution. I know I'm going to be here to empower women all over the world. And so I got my clue. I got my vision. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I said, so quickly, I packed up everything that could fit in my car. I was in Washington, D.C., packed up and moved to Miami, Florida, found my place. And guess, my desk is in between 2 palm trees, and I can smell the ocean and see and yes, I continue to empower women all over the world. So your vision, I didn't realize, how am I going to get there? How is this going to happen? Did I put Kenya and Rwanda in my vision? No, it just happened because I attract that into my life, because I had a vision of where I wanted to go. And I said, wow, you had an amazing vision. Love that story. Thank you, Camille. Yes, it is amazing. And my vision was mine, but you have yours. All of you must take the time to visualize what you want out of your life. And another workshop could be doing a vision board and doing the SMART goals. And, there's workshop after all of these things. But I want you to understand the power of visioning and the power of knowing where you want to go. And whenever you see your vision, then you ask these 3 questions. Self-awareness, where are you now? At that moment, I was in DC. And I said, what do I need to do? I said, well, I need to move because DC doesn't have an ocean. They only have the Potomac River. And I said, well, I need to move closer to the ocean, which I've been longing for, the last 30 years. And I said, so I need to pack up and go. So automatically I had the vision. I said, okay, well, am I? And I said, well, here is not going to complete my vision. I need to move. Then vision crafting, where do you want to go? I already knew I needed to do international work. I looked for places that were close to airports. And I'm in the middle between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Perfect place. Then transformation, what do you need to change to get there? A transformation is really taking a close look at your core beliefs. What do I need to change? And really leaving DC was very painful. I had a fantastic job. I loved my job, but I knew in the transition of my life, I needed to do something drastically different. And part of that transformation was, I was raised a Catholic. I was raised that marriage was until death do us apart. I had to change that core belief that, I can't have a marriage of 3, impossible. You see, my ex had already started a whole new other family, a whole new episode. And I said, I can't stay with that. And I said, so that core belief of marriage until death do us apart, I said, it was an impossible. I said, I need to let that go. And I said, I need to do some changes, and I need to think about myself and love myself just the way I was. And that's what created that transformation. The other thing about that transformation is that I learned very quickly, well, not quickly enough, that you can't hate somebody that you love. Because I love my ex-husband. He's the father of my 3 kids. And I said, but in the rage of what had happened, I was so mad and angry. I thought I hated him. And I said, you can't hate somebody that you love. I'm like, oh, okay. As soon as I understood that, woof, I felt a lot lighter. And I said, well, that's the way it is. I just need to be happy for him and wish him well in his life and in his future. So let me see. Monique, thank you so much for your presentation today. It's great to guide and reminded that self-empowerment resides within us, but it is also inspired by leaders. I thank you, Monique. I deeply appreciate your words. So this is an empowerment, and you always ask when you visualize. When I have more time and when we're together, I usually have you draw whatever you saw in your vision. So that's part of your homework, to draw what you had in your vision and to ask yourself, what is my next growth? What do I need to do to get there? And is it possible? And if it's possible, go do it. And say, and I've never heard that of anyone not being able to do it. So what's your next step, and if it's possible? So just ending today, because I know it's already past our time. Remember that you have been preparing for this your whole life. We need you in leadership positions If it's leading your home, leading your neighborhood, leading your community, leading your state or your country, we need you. People will follow you if they trust you. You are the engine that makes things move, so make them move. Remember, not just to show up, but to take over the world. People are looking for hope, inspiration, happiness, and security, and you can be providing them for that. This is your moment. This is our moment. Remember, not just to show up, but come up. Remember that you're the architect of your life, the author of your own life story, and the chief and the producer of your own documentary. Go ahead and do it. Thank you. I can stay on for any questions or comments that you might have. I have loved sharing this with you. Thank you for chatting with me and keeping this in one note. Nina, you're an amazingly talented woman, charismatic ability to move other women. Thank you. Go and run, ladies, because we need all of you. Diane, thank you so much. This was amazing. Nancy, thank you. This was wonderful. Okay, I'm glad that it's all wonderful, but I want results. I want to make sure that you're happy in your life, that you empower yourself. Remember, we are the majority in the United States and 50% of the global population. Let's take over. The world needs us. The United States needs our abilities, our smarts, our inspiration, our empathy, our motherly-like ways, and be a catalyst of what we can achieve. Remember to love yourself just the way you are. Thank you, Marisa. Already a new path and wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Lots to think about. I'm wondering, are there any questions? Perfect. Thank you. This was wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any questions coming through, but in the chat for everyone, I am posting Marisa's website link right there. And then as a reminder, this is the first webinar in our conference series, and there's a link for our conference series. So we do have 3 other sessions coming up this evening at 5 p.m. Amy Figueroa, Golden Rules of Goal Setting. Tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 a.m., we have Karen Washington, Redefining the Power of Community. And on Thursday at 10 a.m., we have Courtney Edwards, Mindful Self-Care as a Leadership Strategy. So if you're interested in attending any of the other sessions, please sign up to the website. Again, empowermentworks.com is Marisa's website if you'd like to go learn more about her or communicate with her. And Marisa, thank you. This has been wonderful, beautiful, inspirational. We appreciate everything that you've brought to the webinar today. It's just much appreciated.
Thank you, Melanie. Do you mind putting also my email? Because sometimes whatever they write on my website, it comes to me weeks later. So if anybody wants to reach me, to do Marisa, my first name, at empowermentworks.com, or my phone number. If you would like additional presentations, consultation, coaching, anything that we can work with you, would love to. Thank you, Melanie, I appreciate that. And again, thank you to Dean for your technical support. Melanie, thank you for all the hard work. And Lori, thank you for you and Melanie for the invitation. I have loved doing this, and hopefully the next time we can do it in person.
Yeah, fingers crossed that will be soon. And Lori wanted me to also say that, you know, to share her deep appreciation for your presentation, time, and guidance today. We can't say enough for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you'll join us for one of our other sessions. Have a good one.